Yeah, let's go. So welcome to session 4, day 3. We're almost halfway through, just like that. So in the last session, we meditated on giving fearlessness and taking away fear and anxiety and worry. And it felt great to have a whole lot of us all focusing on that together. And before that, we played around with offering mudras. And yeah, it was nice right at the end. Nearly everyone had disappeared. And there were just 1 or 2 people who still had their camera on. And there was somebody who had a lovely shrine. And they'd gone and got a musical instrument. And they started playing it in front of their shrine. Yeah, it felt like a really lovely end to a session about offerings. And it's also a really good illustration of how traditionally it's said that if you hear a piece of teaching, you put it into practice as soon as you possibly can. You don't think, oh, well, I'll put the notes away and, when I've got time next on my solitary retreat, I'll go and look at them and I might do something about it. You start from now, you add it in. So yeah, that was great. And so we were playing with offerings, and yeah, I was talking a little bit about play because I think there's sort of creative play that comes in, which is really healthy because it's non-utilitarian. It's not, you don't particularly, well, you do gain from it, but it's not kind of referring back to me in any particular way. It is just about offering what will be beautiful and satisfying to the refugees. And in that way, yes, we make a deeper connection with the refugees. We make a deeper connection with those awakened states of mind. But yeah, there's just really good sort of play like that. And all giving, ideally, is kind of in that spirit of giving without wanting anything in return. Amongst my questions, there was somebody making a comment about how in their group early in the retreat, they'd been looking at giving and how they'd realized that you could give the Dharma. Perhaps there's somebody who comes along to your center and you think, oh, they're really promising, and you give the Dharma to them. But there's a sense of kind of hope and expectation that they'll sort of turn out well and they'll really practice and they'll, the questioner doesn't say this, but they'll become a mitra or they'll become an order member. And so even that kind of expectation in a way kind of gets in the way. What we want is to break out of what in my book Tales of Freedom I call the reciprocal relationship. So in all sorts of ways, very easily we give sort of in relation to what we're getting or what we think we're going to get. So our giving isn't just a kind of free giving. It's not when I give myself and we just give. We're conditioned. We're conditioned by what's around us, by what we think we're going to get, what other people's expectations are, what other people do. And sure, we have to take, on a practical level, we have to take all that into account, and we don't give in a naive way. But still, yeah, we want to break out of being kind of held in the web, the net of how other people approach their lives, how other people see us. All that we need to find ways of cutting through, so that we really cut through to freedom. And yeah, in chapter 5, Beyond Bargaining, in Tales of Freedom, I was kind of looking at different ways in which we can enter into these kind of conditional relationships where what we give or don't give depends on what other people are doing. So I gave some examples of the sorts of thinking that you can have. So there's something like, nobody else does so-and-so, such and such, so why should I? Yeah, so yeah, maybe the government is kind of suggesting guidelines about COVID, but people around us aren't keeping to those. So, so why should I? They're not doing it. So we're referring to what other people do and effectively to their standards for how they live, rather than referring to our Dharma view of what we really believe in, what we really think is a good way to live. But there are all kinds of different ways in which we kind of think, which all relate what we do, what we give, to what other people should do or what they should give. So another one would be, well, I do X, so why don't you? Yeah, so left to my own devices, I'm a very sort of tidy person. So when I'm around people who are untidy, if I don't catch it, my kind of Mr. Grumpy Bear is going, I don't leave things lying around like that, so why do you? But the fact is that behind that is a view of, why can't everyone be more like me? Yeah. But the fact is that they're like them, and they operate in different ways, and they have different strengths and weaknesses. And my view of how things should be and what it means to be tidy is my view. Yeah. But I sort of tie myself in and limit myself and make myself miserable by expecting there to be this kind of clear relation between what I would do and what they should do. Or, I will give you X, provided you give me Y, or provided you give me X. Yeah. So there's a kind of trading, bartering relationship. And all this on the everyday sort of level of society is fine, yeah. But we're, as well as having to interact on that level, if we're going to move anywhere towards supreme and perfect awakening, we're going to have to step out of all that internally. Yeah? Although we're involved with society, we have to be operating out of our deep sort of heart feeling and what we really believe in and how we see the truth. Yeah. So even if at times our needs aren't met, or somebody that we hoped would reciprocate in some way doesn't, still, if we really feel it's the best thing to do, we give anyway. We don't kind of wait. It's like we have the initiative then. Otherwise we lose our freedom because we're waiting and depending, waiting and hoping that the other person will do such and such. And so our freedom is constricted and constrained. And I think I gave 7 or 8 examples in that chapter. Sometimes we go along with something, because everyone else is doing it. We don't really kind of believe in it, but everyone else does X, so I feel I've got to as well. That can be another version where we're kind of going along with the group when actually we might need to stand alone in that situation. We might need to take our own view, take our own stand. Yeah. So part of this is about really having the initiative with life. Even in small ways, it's interesting. It's like the Buddhist texts recommend that, you know, if you meet someone, the tendency should be that you say hello, you start. It's like you initiate. You don't wait until the other person kind of says hello to you. It's like there's a movement towards them. There's an initiative, a free flow of energy, actually, that it isn't kind of held and constrained and conditioned by what we're receiving. In a way, it's on the level of giving. It's the stepping out of. It's going back to mind, reactive, and creative. Yeah. So the reactive mind is going to respond on the same level as what it's being given, as the stimulus, as what's around. And the creative mind is increasingly freeing itself from that, increasingly roaming free. And yes, that can be quite challenging, to step out of what's the group norm around us. But yeah, very, very liberating. So yes, giving helps to, free giving is what we're looking for. And that free giving benefits those around us because it offers them a different way of being, and it benefits us deeply. And as I say, it gives us the initiative. It's like, you know, sometimes I've sat in chapter meetings where it's all quite nice, but you feel actually it's all a bit dead, and you feel that everyone else is waiting for somebody to start going deeper. But they're not sure that it's going to be them because they're not quite sure how safe it is, or they don't quite feel at ease. But then somebody does, and that is a real gift for the whole situation, because that then enables others to. You know, so in that we can be giving the gift in that sort of way of, yes, being prepared to open out, to go deeper, to give ourselves to situations where other people are holding back, not sure. Yeah. Is that clear? You get the sense of it, and it relates to even giving offerings, because when we are giving offerings, yes, you could probably think, oh, you know, this is a positive karma, and you know, this will be benefiting me. But hopefully, when we're in that time where we're making an offering to the Buddha or to Bodhisattva, we've moved out of our sphere of self-concern. There is just a sense of wanting to give something that's beautiful, that's fulfilling, to what's truly beautiful, to what's truly free, what's truly wise and loving. And every moment of that is a moment of moving beyond selfing. It's a moment of greater freedom. It may not be complete freedom. It may not be what's called Trimandala Parishuddha, being completely pure of the three aspects, which are being aware of me giving someone or something that I'm giving to, and an act of giving. Yeah. If even those three have kind of disappeared, if there's just giving, then then we really are free in that moment. But the practice of giving helps move in that direction. Yeah? It sort of opens out beyond our selfing tendency. Okay. Any thoughts or questions?
That's one. Well, what about rejection? You give and the other really not interested in that, what you give. That's one question. And the other question is, what about, I know sometimes I get things which I really don't want. What about the aspect to find out what the other person really needs?
Well, it's again, it is trial and error. So we do our best to give what we think is going to be beneficial, and we try to do it in a way that we feel the other person will be able to accept. Sometimes we may be trying to give something that we feel is beneficial, which may not be what they obviously want. So we have to be quite skillful to sort of find a way. And if it's rejected, okay, it's rejected. That's all right. We can't take responsibility for the other person. We did what we could. We offered them something. I often talk about one of the meditations on equanimity is that everyone has their own karma. Yeah. So, all right, we did what we could to offer something which we thought was going to be helpful, and we never really know. We can't be certain. But the other person's karma or their conditioning, their tendencies, whatever it was, just meant, okay, they couldn't accept it. So where we don't want to go is, I went to all that trouble to get you that thing, and, it really, sometimes you give some of these, you can really are moved by somebody and you have something that's really sort of special to you and you give it to them and they take it and look at it and it's like, oh, thank you, and put it on one side and you think, oh, they didn't value it at all. They didn't feel what it was, how lovely it was. But in a way, that's all our aspect of things that we have to sort of deal with internally. So what was the second part of the question, Pekshilila?
Okay. The need.
The need.
Yes. Well, that goes with that, what you say with skillful means. They'll find out, I give something, is it that what people really need?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we do our best to empathize. We do our best to put ourselves in the other person's shoes and not just feel out how we would feel in their position, but how they feel in their position, which is a step further. And certainly with our friends and people we meet, we can do our best, to be aware of small things about them. It's like I've got certain friends who I couldn't tell you what they like to drink or what they particularly like to eat, but they know what I like to drink and what I like to eat, and they so they'll produce this cup of something and say, oh, here you are, and I become aware that they've noticed, or like on a retreat, it's like sometimes you can be sitting there at breakfast after a few days and somebody passes you, what they've noticed that you've had for breakfast on your toast or whatever for the last 4 days. And you think, oh, I've been really sort of seen and taken in by that person. I've been, they've had that real kind of awareness of quite small thing about me. And there's something very lovely about that. So yes, we can empathize and we can observe. And in that way, we still may get it wrong, but we do our best. We get closer to recognizing the uniqueness of people and what they really value and what they enjoy.
Comment, yeah.
Yep.
So someone has said, this sounds like giving up my personality throughout my existences.
Sounds like giving up my personality throughout my existences. Well, that would be a grand. This sounds like giving up my personality throughout my existences. That's kind of a grand scale of things. Maybe we'll get to that in a day or two. Maybe we won't go there now. We'll hang on to a bit of our personality for a day or two, shall we? Yeah. Okay. If there's nothing else about that, I'm going to do a couple of quick questions, and then we'll meditate. And then tomorrow and ongoingly, we're going to go more deeply into offerings and the mandala offering and the principles behind those deep and vast imaginative offerings. And I think will take us into interesting territory about generosity, but also about the nature of things. So a couple of quick questions. Somebody's asking, bodhicitta and tonglen, one practice or two, or doesn't it matter? So bodhicitta is that deep combination of wisdom and compassion. As Bhante calls it, the heart of Buddhism. And tonglen is a method which helps us to unfold, move in the direction of bodhicitta. It helps set up the conditions for that fire of that flame of bodhicitta to ignite in our heart. Yeah. So, yeah, tonglen is a practice for helping to generate bodhicitta. And then I won't read all this, but the bodhicitta tonglen practice seems to be a sort of more advanced version of the plain metabhavana. Do you still see a place for practicing the plain, in inverted commas, version of metabhavana, interspersed between bodhicitta tonglen sessions or not? And the person says they've always loved doing the metabhavana. It's been a bit of a lifesaver for them. So this is a sort of more of a personal question in a way. But I think it's important that we build on our strengths and we build on what works for us as Dharma practitioners. And yes, in some ways, the context of the bodhicitta practice and the tonglen can make it more deeply effective. If you're doing the 5-stage metabhavana as it's often taught, you're not necessarily linking into the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, you're not necessarily linking into the refuge tree, you're not necessarily connecting to the yidam. So there's all that aspect of it. There's not necessarily the same addressing of suffering. There's not necessarily that depth of karuna and mudita. But at the same time, I really wouldn't think, oh, now I've got the grown-up practice, the advanced practice, I'll sort of throw away that old 5-stage metabhavana. As I say, we want to build on what works for us. So if we've found a method that is effective and reliable for us, okay, we'll keep touching touching back to that. And the aim would be over time to bring the feeling and the richness of the metta bhavana that we've built up into the bodhicitta and tonglen practice, and to bring some of the qualities of the bodhicitta tonglen practice in if we're doing metta bhavana. Yeah, so we don't want to be too compartmentalized. And all these practices, they're all just trying to take us into experience. They're trying to take us into experiences of open heart, open mind. So it's different when we're setting out. Yes, new people need clear kind of structures very often. But when we've been practicing for often decades, then we can, it's as if the boundaries between the practices can sort of soften, and the practices become more helpful tools and supports, which we can sort of draw on depending on what's needed at the time. But yes, let's build on, if we've had decades of working with the practice, and that's a reliable way in for us. Well, let's not just throw it away because there's something else which is supposedly, more powerful or more advanced or whatever. Yeah. Okay. When I start a meditation session and connect with the heart, as the heart opens, a flood of tears and sobbing come up. The experience is purely at the level of the body. By that I mean there aren't thoughts or memories in the mind. I feel as if there's a reservoir of pain, loss and suffering that was blocked in there and comes up. There's also a sense of relief afterwards. I don't understand what is behind all this, and I'm not sure how to go about trying to find out. I'm not sure that's what matters, actually. Do you have any suggestions? This can certainly happen. I've sometimes talked about how when I first took up the Green Tara practice, I kept on being in floods of tears. And after a couple of months of this, when I went to see Bante, I told him about it. And he said, oh, it doesn't usually have that effect. And I thought, oh God, there's something really the matter with me. I'm really weird. But yeah, this is a common, well-known experience. And it's a purification. It's the heart opening and freeing itself. And I don't think there's any great need to go digging around to find out what it's about. It's enough to let it arise, like any other experience. We let it arise, we experience it as fully as we can, with as much loving kindness as we can, and we let it go. And then there's a sense of relief. So it feels like there's a good process going on, and no need to add in a level of, what's all that about from the past or whatever. If we need to know, well, in the course of the practice, we probably will get some memories come up. But the main thing is that there's just a heart opening and a heart freeing. And tears are just tears. They're things human beings sometimes shed, and all part of the richness of life. Okay, on that tearful note, let's do some meditation. Oh, unless there's any clarifications about that, or questions. You okay with that? Okay, good. Let's go. So sitting just as we are, aware of what's going on. No need to think about the past. No need to race off into the future. No need to produce an idea about some present moment. Now feeling our connection with the ground. And there's the physical connection and sensations. But it's as if they can point at an even deeper level. Where we're settling into the bedrock of reality. Tremendous stability. Like those lines of the English poet T.S. Eliot, at the still point of the turning world. And from there, the body rises up. Still with this sense of stability. As in that meditation instruction, body like a mountain. This mountain is very alive. It's an alive stability. Feeling the life in the body. Now coming to the heart center, feeling the aliveness of the heart. If it doesn't feel very alive, just bringing kindly awareness, listening, patience. No problem, just being with the experience. Now we're going to do a little tonglen. And if you'd prefer, you can, as usual, have Buddha or the Idam or whatever form of the refuge works for you. But I'm going to describe the practice as if we have a wish-fulfilling jewel in our heart. It's a symbol of bodhicitta. So we have this brilliant jewel. And this jewel precisely, beautifully bestows on each individual being whatever will fulfill their true wishes. And one true wish of all beings is to be free of suffering. So with each in-breath, our suffering of all kinds dissolves into this brilliant jewel. And with each out-breath, all our skillful wishes, the ones we know about, and the deep wishes and heart longings of our being, are all met, all satisfied. right to those deep wishes. If we long to love and be loved, it's there. If we long to know how things really are, we do. If we long to be deeply at peace, that's how we feel. If we long to be free, there's limitless freedom. Now the process opens out to all of us meditating together. With the in-breath, all our causes of suffering and the sufferings themselves all dissolve into the bodhicitta jewel at our heart. And with each out-breath, all our wishes, all the wishes of each and every one of us, all of us unique beings, are all fulfilled. Can be aware of individual people on the retreat that we know, feeling, seeing them, that process happening with them. And we can be aware of all of us together. Our hearts like a jewel net. All connected through bodhicitta. And together, the wish fulfilling jewels in our hearts take the process further and further. You can think of others we know. The wish fulfilling jewel takes away their suffering. And clearly and precisely fulfills their wishes. Whatever's beneficial. And as their deep heart longings are fulfilled, we can see a wish fulfilling jewel appearing in their heart. So the process expands and expands. And now, letting go of the meditation, feeling the qualities without needing to sustain any images or ideas. Aware of the body, aware of the ground beneath us, aware of sounds and the space around. And dedicating the merits of the practice. That all beings have all their skillful wishes fulfilled. They all find the wish-fulfilling jewel of bodhicitta. That meditation, either of oneself as being a wish-fulfilling jewel or having the wish-fulfilling jewel in our heart, is a traditional one from the Lojong mind training tradition. It can be very interesting to carry it out into life, to walk down the street and have people passing by and just be a wish-fulfilling jewel and send them whatever our heart feels will fulfill their wishes. Just person after person. Okay, so now we are halfway through, and look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Au revoir.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.